Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Owen, and I'm the president and founder of Ponscio. Ponscio is a social networking organization that exists to connect and advance women entrepreneurs around the world, hopefully inspiring them along the way. We share education, mentoring, and access to capital. I want to open today in saying thank you to Plus Social Good in making it possible for us to have this chat today. And I want to thank our panelists. We have four thought leaders that are here to discuss with those key pillars of education, mentoring, and access to capital, as well as special guests from the Middle East today. We have with us Katie Blot, the president of Blackboard. She is joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. So actually at the time of this discussion, it is 4 a.m. in Phoenix. Thank you so much, Katie. We have Laura Lombard, the CEO of MENACA. You'll learn more about MENACA in a moment. She's out of Washington, D.C. Lisa Balter Saacks is the vice president of Gust here in New York City. And Rula Shunnar is the regional director of Silatech in the Middle East. And so Malcolm Gladwell, the great author Malcolm Gladwell, defines a tipping point as that magic moment when an idea, trend, or social behavior crosses the threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire. So it's my contention that women, the opportunities for women worldwide, especially in business as entrepreneurs, is at a tipping point. And given the fact that 50% of the world's population is women, isn't it only right, isn't it only smart to include women in the economic engine that creates goodness in an economy and all of the political and economic stability that come with that? Recognizing that technology and innovation have transformed our ability to reach across borders, across cultures and time zones. And worldwide, it's women entrepreneurs that are the key catalysts of this movement, advancing development by building capacity and bringing economic opportunity. Our technology and academic partners at Ponscio make it possible for us to offer rich training, education, and all of the resources that we will discuss today for women entrepreneurs worldwide. I want to open our discussion with Katie Blot, again, the president of Blackboard. Katie, given the fact that Blackboard is the preeminent education enterprise technology company in the world, can you talk about the role of technology with regard to education, especially as it pertains to the advancement of women in business?
Thank you, Laura. I'd love to. And you started it off, I think, exactly right. Education, to me, is the first and foremost thing that needs to be focused on as we're thinking about advancing not just individuals' lives and their dreams, but economies and societies. And certainly, as we work across the globe with thousands and thousands of clients and millions of learners everywhere, it's something that we're seeing is that in the United States and everywhere else, I would say probably 70% of countries have education as one of their top 5 priorities because of the link they see between education and long-term economic sustainability, which is very, very exciting. Now, as we think about at Blackboard, technology-enabled education, you mentioned a tipping point. It's absolutely something that's hit it. We are seeing the rapid growth of the use of technology to enable education, again, across the globe, and what that's doing to create access to education across boundaries, which to me is very, very exciting. And to me, probably the most exciting thing that we're seeing is the access for women. And as we look, again, across the globe, women are still in a place where they're disadvantaged in many ways, be it cultural barriers that keep them from access normally to further education, or the fact that women in most places continue to be the primary caregivers for children. And for those reasons, often are limited in their ability to physically go and achieve education through a classroom setting, a formal setting. And so what technology has done is really broken down those access barriers for women as well as for many other people who are traditionally disadvantaged for a variety of reasons for access to education. So we find that to be very exciting, and what we're seeing is just waves in what I'll call the formal education realm of people using technology to help give that access to people. And the technology, everything from putting formal courses online to having collaboration tools to just having spaces where people can go out and consume academic material and engage in dialogue around them, all the way through more and more institutions, formal institutions, putting all of their courses online. And what we're seeing is a lot of mobility with students too. We're seeing now students taking courses in other countries at a much more rapid clip over the last 3 to 4 years than we've ever seen before, and that the majority of those students are women, which I think is very, very exciting. So we're seeing women, just slightly more than men, taking advantage of the fact that they can take courses in multiple places. Yes, and to me, and it's not just about formal education. So we have, of course, institutions who, and lower than the institution level or further education, post-secondary level. Every country calls it a different level, but as we're talking about 19, 20-year-olds getting a formal degree, we're seeing it there in formal education. We're also seeing it in informal education, which to me is equally exciting. We're seeing the rise of open education, again, across the globe, where people are using technology to take the education they have or training that they have and make it openly and freely available to people, which I think is a very, very exciting movement. And this is one, again, where we've seen it have no barriers. We've seen it have no boundaries. We're seeing people from across the globe sign up for an institution in the US, a Spanish institution, an institution in the UK. We're seeing people get participation in these open education courses from across the globe, a course in China. It's incredibly exciting.
Absolutely. And so you're seeing not only formal education, whether it's advanced degrees or what have you, but as well skills training. Because not everyone needs to have an advanced degree, much as we value education on all levels. For many women, that education may be simply having some basic skills so that she can run her shop, some basic understanding of accounting, simple accounting, maybe some basic marketing skills. So education can mean so many different things. And I know, Katie, Blackboard has been very committed to education on all of those levels. So I think it is important to underscore that when we talk about the role of technology in advancing education, we're really talking about education availability to women of all levels, not just those who are pursuing a formal degree.
Without a doubt, what I would say is what, again, I think is very exciting is technology is enabling institutions to think differently about the deconstruction of the education, and with the societal needs that exist everywhere around trained and skilled workforce, women and men, people are starting to put the priority for the courses that they technology enable to things that are actually skills training, and breaking them down from just something that needs to be a degree program to something that is a very discrete building one capability or building one skill. And that's where we're seeing the majority of work around online is people looking at actual skills training and making it available, which is what is needed for driving a skilled workforce.
Perfect. Thank you. And Laura Lombard is the CEO of MENACA, and I'm going to ask Laura before I ask her question. Laura, would you be kind enough to share with us what is MENACA?
Absolutely. So MENACA is a trade association for consultants, lawyers, public relations specialists, and others, all who have a specialty in the Middle East one way or the other. So we started MENACA with the goal, and this will go to our conversation later about connecting, but connecting different people who have these specialties in a way that they can really play on their comparative advantages, and also a platform so that companies who are looking to enter the Middle East can come to us and either find a very specific consultant to help them with their specific need, or even a team of consultants that we can put together in a tailored way based off of those comparative advantages to really ensure that the company is getting what they need to successfully enter the market or the sector that they're looking to, or expand. Maybe they're already in the Middle East, but in North Africa, but they want to expand to a different part of the country or part of the country, part of the region, so on and so forth. So that's what we do.
And can you talk about the importance of women doing business across borders? So reaching, connecting with other women, expand on what you were just sharing about the mission with MENACA. But why is it important for women to reach across boundaries when they're considering expanding their business? And also, could you talk about the role of mentoring in helping a woman start and expand her business?
Sure. So obviously in any business venture, the more that you can expand your market base, the better. And what better way to do that than expand your market into a different, or your base into a different country, or a different part of maybe your own region. So with what we do, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is we're trying to connect those dots so that someone who is, say Rula and Jordan, for example, and she wants to help Silatech move into the United States. It's a huge market for someone. If they can find the right partners, and I'll speak to a little bit more with mentorship, if you can find the right partners to help you really successfully enter that market, then all of a sudden you've opened a huge door. A lot of women, too, in the Middle East are doing their businesses online, so they're virtual. So really, if they can find, again, the right partners within a country that they want to expand into, they can do it from the comfort of their own homes, or the online, virtually, and really have a huge base of potential customers that they can access anywhere in the world. So again, through technology, that's a huge asset that all of us women, or all of us, in general, people, men and women, have these days. So you can expand anywhere, as long as you have the right partners to maybe help you understand how to market into that particular country.
Perfect. Thank you. Lisa, I want to have you talk about Gust. And everyone understands and appreciates the importance of capital in launching a business and expanding a business, but not everyone knows who Gust is and what it is that you're doing. Feel free to share what you just launched here in New York City last week. I think that's an exciting initiative that also speaks to the breadth of Gust. But then I really want you to talk most about, as women who are looking for capital, especially early stage capital, how can they access Gust? Eventually, Gust, hopefully in the not too distant future, will be available through Ponscio online, and we're partners in that mission. But I really feel I'm very excited about what Gust is doing and how you're doing it. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. It's great to hear both what Katie and Laura said in terms of education and mentorship, which is just the natural foundation for what is the most important thing for an entrepreneur to access before they're kind of ready to head into the world of capital raising, which is a completely sort of different story. But the beauty of today is that technology has really helped facilitate that opportunity for women all over the world. And so to answer your question, so what is Gust? So Gust, we are a global platform for entrepreneurs and investors to collaborate with each other. So for an investor, it's a place where they can source deal flow, which essentially means it's a chance for them to connect with entrepreneurs that they would not have otherwise perhaps met in their day-to-day journey in life. And likewise, for an entrepreneur, it's a phenomenal opportunity for them to look for different investors on the platform itself to see where there may be a match, and then, of course, most importantly, to apply directly to those different investor groups. And what that really means is it's a chance for an entrepreneur to both put together their profile, which is essentially a business plan of sorts, and what the platform does is it helps to standardize across the board what an inappropriate business plan may look like. Obviously, for someone who's a first-time entrepreneur, that's a huge hurdle to get over. But I think that's where organizations like Blackboard, and then of course what Laura was saying with mentorship, it's those resources that really help set the stage and can really help mentor an entrepreneur to kind of get to that next level.
So using that technology to help them, guide them through the process of developing their business plan and making that available to many entrepreneurs, not only in their region but worldwide.
Yes. Our platform, it's actually in 6 languages, so it offers up a lot of, to start, some language-specific opportunities for entrepreneurs and investors. But what also we've seen a definite trend, there's a lot of investment groups that are geared just towards women, be it one woman on the management team or a sole proprietor, sole entrepreneur. Each investor group, of course, is looking for different things, but there's organizations out there like Golden Siege, which is basically a global early stage investment organization really focused on providing capital to women or women startups. And what's nice about working with angel investors in particular, in terms of that really early stage of funding, is most of these women or men in these organizations, they themselves have been entrepreneurs. And they really look at this as an opportunity to also mentor those folks that they see have a great idea and they want to work with it or help them, bring it to the next level of revenue or product development.
Fantastic. And, I think what you have launched this past week, again, congratulations, here in New York City, and the vision for expanding that beyond New York City is really exciting. And, can you talk about that? Because what you are doing is you're using technology to make venture capital or angel funding available. And I think this is kind of a unique opportunity, if you would talk about that.
Sure. So what was just launched last week was a huge public-private partnership effort between New York City, our organization Gust, as sort of the infrastructure development, and then also IBM, which was the private participant as well. And together what we created was beyond just startup financing, was an entire hub for all things startup. So basically for any entrepreneur, investor, or even earlier days when an individual may be thinking about, I kind of have an idea, I'm not quite sure where to go, New York City has now unveiled digital.nyc, which is a place to just start exploring opportunities, resources, anything from I need to find a workspace to just think about or conceive of an idea to I want to go delve deeper and I have a business plan, but I'm not sure what other resources are available to me. And it's an open, free platform for people to explore. And then, of course, there's the financing component, which eventually connects to Gust if you want to look to see who is relevant in your community. This community being New York. Yeah.
I think, Rula, there's a separate discussion that needs to be had, probably every panelist here talking to Rula and in her capacity working with Silatech in the Arab world, because I think these are all tools that have tremendous opportunity to reach women in a meaningful way. So basically, Gust is creating here in New York City, or has created in partnership with New York City and IBM, an innovation resource where people can go here in New York City to find everything that they might need as an early stage company under one online platform. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. I was just going to say there's some other organizations as well, we could speak about it even later, that are really focused on early stage investment that have a regional specific component to it as well. It was just a few weeks ago where as part of the large association, it's a federation for all European investors. That organization is called EBAN. It's been in existence for many, many years. The president of that organization has just worked with partners locally in the Middle East and throughout the Arab world to form an organization called MBAN, and that's a great resource for women to also be able to approach local investors. It's an affiliation of various investors, and that may include an organization in the UAE that has also just started solely focused on women angel investors, and it's called WOMENA, W-O-MENA, and that's based in the UAE. So that's a great resource for women.
Is Gust going to be partnering with this new MBAN? Are you guys going to be working with them as well? So
we hope to be, yes, because we're partners with the European organization, yes, and another one is forming for Africa as well, which is really exciting.
That's incredible, and I imagine you guys have a role in that, in helping to formalize some of those organizations.
For the organizations themselves, we partner with them so that we can help provide the tool, the Gust tool, to all of these different organizations.
That's exciting. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Because it gives women the opportunity to access, early stage capital in their own region.
In their own region, from their own home on the platform, exactly.
Yeah, powerful. Well, several of us are here in New York City today for the C3. It's an annual summit called the C3 U.S. Arab Summit. It's a very exciting event, and Laura Lombard, who's here with us today, is actually one of the organizers of the event. So, Laura, I would love for you to share with everyone what is the C3 U.S. Arab Summit, learn a little bit about the mission, and then I want to ask some questions of Rula, who's bringing a direct understanding of the Arab world to us today.
Thank you, Laura. So the C3 Summit, the C part of it, the C3 is community collaboration and commerce.
Are you muted?
I shouldn't be.
I beg your pardon. Okay.
So anyway, so it's community collaboration and commerce. The original idea behind it was to create an exclusive event that was dedicated to building new relationships, fostering existing partnerships, and exchanging best practices for business between the U.S. and the Middle East. This is now the third iteration of the Business Summit version. Ransel Potter, who founded this 3 years ago, started off with a 2-day summit, and President Bill Clinton was the first keynote speaker. This year, we have Mr. Al Habator coming out of the UAE, who's going to be our keynote today. But basically, it's a wonderful platform for businesses ranging from small to medium-sized enterprises all the way through your big corporations, government entities that are associated with building commerce, nonprofit organizations such as mine, who are business-focused, all to meet under a wonderful day of networking and wonderful panels.
It is an exciting day for sure. And opportunities for women around the world obviously are opening, and particularly in the Arab world, opportunities are opening in a very meaningful way. And we saw in the news last week, for example, that the person who commanded the fighter pilots out of the UAE was a woman. And that was, I'm sure, very intentional on the part of the leadership in UAE. It sends a strong, resounding message that they are committed to the advancement of women. As well, we look to countries, for example, what's happening in the Saudi Arabia, for example. King Abdullah this past year appointed 20% of the Shura Council is now women. We contrast that here in the United States, where we have 17% of our Congress is women. So again, I would say that was a very intentional and measured decision to send a resounding message that they are committed to change. And as exciting as that is, we also recognize, and I will add too, education. King Abdullah's scholarship program is incredible. We have 200,000 young people in the United States today studying, all paid for by the king. And they're studying, students are studying all over the world, but here in the United States we have the largest numbers. And that shows, as Katie mentioned, the high priority that's being placed on education, recognizing that education truly changes outcomes, changes opportunities, changes economies. And that's all very exciting, but all of that said, we still have some rather archaic policies and laws and cultural barriers that darken the paths of women in their efforts to advance, and that's very frustrating. I have a very dear friend who recently applied for a visa to Morocco. Ironically, her desire to go to Dubai, she is from Morocco, and she was declined 7 times by the UAE government simply because she was a young woman, unmarried, from Morocco. And furthermore, as if that wasn't enough pain, they informed her that because so many prostitutes come from Morocco, that they would not issue her a visa. And 21 years old, a very, very, very bright, well-educated, promising young woman, is just inexcusable. And that, again, that goes to some of the cultural barriers that still are very much alive, that still need to be broken down. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce Rula Shunnar. And Rula is the regional director for Silatech. She is from Jordan and arrived at 1 a.m. So she and Katie get the Yahoo star for being on this call with us today, because they're operating on no sleep. And so, Rula, let's start, if you would be so kind. Tell us about Silatech. What is the mission of Silatech? How does Silatech use technology for advancing women? I know Silatech is focused on promoting entrepreneurism in general, not just for women, but certainly and I have to admit, I've just received a notice from Rula that she is having some issues with the internet in the hotel where she is, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if we're going to have a good connection with Rula, unfortunately. Rula, are you able to speak?
It keeps going back and forth. Now I can hear you clearly, but so let's take advantage of this.
Okay, very good. So would you be kind enough, first, if you would, tell us about Silatech. What is Silatech's mission? And then if you would then specifically talk about what Silatech is doing to advance women entrepreneurs in the Arab world.
Okay. So Silatech is a non-governmental organization. It's a regional, Qatari-based non-governmental organization that focuses mainly on youth between 18 and 30. Our mission is to work extensively on youth inclusion in the Middle East through economic empowerment and employability, and also civic engagement. We have been established since 2008, and we are spread in 18 different Arab countries. And we do use technology, Laura. And back to your point, there's one correction I want to make. I am not the regional director. I am the country representative in Palestine and Jordan. We do focus extensively on spreading technology, and due to the difficulties that youth are facing in different areas of the Middle East, and through the barriers, the geographical borders and barriers, and the lack of movement. So technology is the only way that we could reach out to these youth. So we do have the Tamal, and that's why I wanted to also thank you for pointing out to Lisa that we have to talk about Gust and how we can cooperate, because we have a portal that's called Tamal, and it's a job portal, but it's not only a job matching, it's an employability support to build the skill set, and also to open the entrepreneurship window to youth through tutoring them on how to write a business plan, how to sit an interview, and how to even take the psychometric assessment test that we, Silatech, launched in several countries in the Middle East to define their path as they graduate from high school or even college. We do have programs for youth in general, but we do have specialized programs for women as well. And we do have a mobile application that we've spread out in more than one country, and it's called Najjahni, and it's in Arabic, means help me succeed. And it's a mobile app that that it's free of charge, and it's a USSD to be able to be reached to every phone. And in Iraq, for instance, we managed to do a network for women, for business women, to share information and to mentor each other. And it was in partnership with the USAID, and we're trying to implement programs of this. We also have a platform that we're going to be launching very soon, and it's to support crowdfund. We know that women not only have problems due to cultural barriers, or due to even policy and regulatory barriers, or due to even the authority recognition, they have a problem getting access to capital. And they have to have lots of collaterals, or they have to have lots of guarantees, even how the banks perceive them when they apply for loans. So we are partnering with Kiva Al Arab to launch a crowdfund platform. And we have been piloting it, and it's been giving a great success, but that's also going to be open and focusing, and there will be programs that are tailored especially for women. So Silatech does focus a lot on this issue, and we've launched programs that are specific to support women entrepreneurship by also connecting them with the right banks, venture funds, angel investing. We've established the Sila, a first angel invest in the Middle East. So through through these programs, we believe that we can support women try to advance their potential more in the Middle East.
And Rula, can you talk about the cultural barriers? We were sharing the fact that there have been great advancements in opening opportunities for women in the Arab world. Can you speak to the barriers that still exist? And obviously there are tremendous things that are changing. Every country is different and unique, without a doubt. So it's difficult to.
Laura, I heard the first part of the question, but I couldn't hear the second part.
Can you talk about the cultural barriers today, and how do you see those changing with regard to women entrepreneurs? Did you hear me?
I can now. You keep going back and forth. Sorry.
Okay. How do you see the changes? How do you see opportunities opening for women entrepreneurs in the Arab world?
Yes, Laura?
How do you see opportunities opening for women in the Arab world, women entrepreneurs?
Well, sure. While we've been seeing lots of advancement, and we all have to, you just mentioned the King Abdullah quota that he made in the Congress, and the advancement in the women role in the Middle East, we still have a long way to go. And the past 2 decades were fundamentally different for women, and we have been seeing many women entrepreneurs in the Middle East getting way of capitalizing their resources and achieving success. We still have to work on our regulatory and laws. For instance, in some countries, women are not allowed to travel without the consent of their father, brother, or husband. They cannot even apply to loans. They have to get consent from also a man in the family, whoever it is. So while women make up the 49% of the population in the Arab world, only 28% of them are in the active workforce. And in the, I came across a very interesting fact that women in the boardroom are only 1.5% GCC and the Gulf Cooperation of Council countries. So that's due to many facts that the potential is usually undervalued, and you have to be working while you work on the policy and the laws reform. You have to in parallel work on the mindset, and although that takes a while, but I don't think this should be separate, and they should be going hand in hand. Also, it has to be some perception. We face a problem that many women, a woman engineer could graduate at the same time a man engineer, but his salary would automatically be higher than hers. And finally, the social responsibility. The social responsibilities of a woman. Usually, regardless if she's a professional and she works out, her responsibilities at home should be exactly done as perfect as if she's not working, and that sometimes adds a lot of pressure on women. And so again, it's the culture mindset, and it's things that we have been seeing big differences. We have been seeing lots of supporting men and society, but still, we've been seeing women who are pilots, who are chairmen of companies, the CEOs, but we still need to get more of that.
I've heard it said that very often a lot of women in the Arab world, and I'm sure this is true globally, but I specifically heard that a lot of women in the Arab world won't even try, because it is a difficult thing to be an entrepreneur. You face a lot of brick walls. To be a senior executive in any company, you face a lot of brick walls. There's a lot of discouragement, but to add the pressure of a social a lack of acceptance socially for a woman to want to advance. That is very, very difficult to overcome, especially in light of what you've just said, that there's this expectation that she should still be a perfect wife, a perfect mother, have a perfect home, all the while that she is winning a paycheck that sometimes exceeds her husband's. And that's a very, very difficult stigma to overcome. And here in the United States, we're certainly not finished with that one. We also still have a lot of those pressures that are kind of not fair.
Yeah, and one more last thing, Laura, that we shouldn't also forget is the due to also culture and sometimes the authority, we have very few women who are involved in the politics. And even when women have the right to vote, they're most of the time, or in many times, they're told who to vote for, even, or they're not participating in the political life as figures because they themselves have an undervalued estimation of themselves, and that's due to again the cultural upbringing, and like you and I were saying, that we need more mentors, we need more role models, and we need more of these women who can inspire us into and inspire these young women into doing more and believing themselves, and not thinking of themselves as the less or the second-class citizen.
Exactly. In Ponscio, we actually have partnered with the Plus Social Good at the UN Foundation to launch a program called Ponscio Talks. And Ponscio Talks is a series of interviews with prominent business women around the world who are really changing the opportunities for women. And I'm amazed at some of the women we've already scheduled for these interviews. And to your point, Rula, I think what this is really about, it's an opportunity to share inspiring stories with women of every culture from every corner of the globe to inspire women that they can do it. Because that is not, again, that's not a problem unique to the Arab world. A lot of women don't have the confidence to excel in their careers and don't believe they can do it, or the social pressures are such that they don't feel they have the permission to do it. So what I really hope comes from these talks is for women who have absolutely been the top achievers to have that opportunity and a voice to share you can do it, and to discuss the challenges that they had to overcome in achieving their success. And that's really that's the message behind Ponscio Talks. So with that, I'm going to shift a question to Katie. Katie, something you and I have not had a chance to talk about yet, but I'm eager to share with you. Again, in partnership with the UN Foundation Plus Social Good, we're launching another program called Ponscio Pals. And when I was a young woman, a very young woman, we did something called pen pals, which was connecting with someone on the other side of the world, and through snail mail we shared letters. And the point of it was to learn about other cultures and to practice your language skills, right? Another language. My pen pal was a very cute young boy in Paris, and so I was highly motivated to be a good pen pal. So Ponscio Pals is kind of along that same line, but it's for girls. Young girls up through university age. And the idea is not only to connect them about learning other cultures and appreciating cross-border thinking, but also through structured communication, to begin to explore the possibility of being an entrepreneur. We've seen a huge success in the last 10 years by placing a lot of emphasis in programs on what we call STEM, science, technology, mathematics, hugely successful in getting more women into these areas. But we recognize, all of the data is out there about the importance of what happens in economies when women are inspired to be entrepreneurs, to start businesses, to create jobs. We know that, for example, that an educated girl will reinvest 90% of her future income in her family as compared to 35% for boys. So again, I go back to the importance of education and what that does for the girls and their families. So Ponscio Pals is, again, it's about connecting these young women with women of their same age and learning about other cultures, and then through structured communication, exploring the possibility of being an entrepreneur. So a study came out a couple of weeks ago, and forgive me, I can't quote the source right now, but a study came out revealing that if a young woman hasn't considered herself as a possibility as an entrepreneur by the time she's in high school, she'll never consider it. And the alternative was true, that a young woman who had considered herself as an entrepreneur by the time she was in high school, very high correlation to those who will pursue being entrepreneurs. So to me, that spoke volumes, underscoring the importance of the Ponscio PALS program. Yeah. And really excited about it. We'll all be digital. And so I know Blackboard is very, very active. A lot of us are very aware of what Blackboard does in the world of higher education. But would you talk about, I mean, you guys are huge in other areas, not only government, but also K through 12, you're huge. So when you consider the role of, again, technology, even in reaching these younger girls, some of it formal education, K through 12, maybe some of it's not formal. Maybe some of it is doing some informal things with these young girls to help advance them. Can you talk about what Blackboard is doing in that area?
Certainly, and I think that I can't express enough. That sounds to me so exciting, Laura. I think you've hit on something that is so needed. What we find, we do a lot of research with young learners, again, in formal and informal settings. And one thing that's clear about today's learners across the globe as digital natives is they're more interested in peer-to-peer networked learning than any generation before them. And that we're seeing now, whether this was always the way people learned or something that it just been available via technology, or whether it's something new, we're not sure. But the education, again, in many, many places, getting very, very focused on connecting peers in, again, formal and informal ways. And students today, again, everywhere are telling us that this is very much what they want. And the younger they are, the more they tell us that this is what they want. And I think you're dead right. Another thing that we find in research with learners is that people have established their sense of themselves and what the possible world is for themselves very, very young these days, and in a way that can make you very sad or can give you a lot of hope about what we can do to help people see worlds of possibilities earlier. And it's without a doubt what we need to do. We're seeing the women in STEM go up, but only slightly. Right, so we need to do a lot more there. So what we work with over 13,000 schools across the globe. Wow. So in the U.S. and abroad, working with young students, and again all the way through when they're ready for further education, but starting as young in kindergarten. And what we're finding is, as you can imagine, a great acceptance of technology. And that what technology and for the learners that are younger, it's the fact that technology helps connect them to other people is probably more important to them than if we see older students as they're learning. The fact that they can access course materials and learning, very, very important. For the younger learners, we find the fact that technology allows us to personalize an experience at scale and allows them to connect socially to other people around learning, that very much energizes them. So I love the program because I think it both will enable people to see a world of possibilities, allow people to understand that, as you were talking about, the barriers for women today, they're different country by country, but we're facing them everywhere. We're certainly continuing to face them in the U.S. I saw everybody smiling when you were saying that, who's probably also working moms who face those every day. I think that young people can see that people face the same challenge and have the same noise in their lives in other countries, and that can again make them feel much more connected to the world, and it can also obviously help them learn. So even if we're putting people together in very informal settings, they are going to learn from each other. This is what we know about young people using technology today. If they can connect with people, they're going to learn from each other, and that will help us all grow and get better.
That's a great picture right there, Kate.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting big.
Oh, sorry.
Your sons are getting big.
Yes. My 3 babies aren't babies anymore.
Yes. Neither are mine. My babies are now 32. So.
Oh my goodness.
Grow up. And so I think what we all recognize, that if women are not dreaming big, Lisa, if they're not accessing capital, Laura, if they're not accessing mentors and connecting with women around the world. And Rula, if we don't have on-the-ground resources, local capacity to encourage them, inspire them, help facilitate laws and policy that advance women, what we're really doing, and I just want to put it down to its simplest terms, we're choosing to ignore half of the world's population in creating the economic engine that's possible. So we are talking a lot today in the world, specifically here today in New York at the C3 U.S. Arab Summit. We'll be talking a lot about advancing economies because we recognize so much of the troubles that we're seeing in the Middle East today are tied directly to the economy. And we also know that it really isn't a religion problem, it's a jobs problem, which is a skills problem, which leads to a personal identity problem. And it makes it very easy for groups like ISIS to recruit from those young, unskilled, uneducated, really lost young men to recruit them into terrorism. And so when you think about the role that we have as mothers, we're the nurturers. We're the greatest influencers on the face of the earth. And so by educating women and giving them the opportunity to advance themselves and build jobs, build economies, in the short run, yes, airstrikes are necessary. Sad as that is, it's a reality. But in the long run, we're not going to win this war with just guns and airstrikes. It's in the long run, we're going to have to include women, and we're going to have to invest in women. And my personal contention, and I'd really like to open this to discussion for everyone for the balance of this discussion today, my personal contention is that if we don't invest in women, then this is a war that we'll never win, because it will continue to grow by recruiting those unskilled, uneducated, and therefore they have no personal productive identity. It's very easy to capture that and create evil from that. So my personal belief is that it's a decision for everyone, and not just for women. But the men who have the power, in many cases, to affect policy, even right down to cultural barriers that exist because of a mental decision to keep it that way. I think everyone has an opportunity every day to influence this. So we're making a decision to either support a solution or to support the ongoing troubles. And that decision is to either advance women and enable them with what I consider God-given rights for their opportunity to advance themselves and to make lives better for their families and their communities. Or we can ignore it and choose intentionally not to be helpful, or to continue to support cultural barriers that really prevent women from advancing. So that's my personal contention, but I would like to turn it over for you all to discuss how what is your thought about that, and what do you see as the way forward given the serious nature and global threat that we have today in a world that really, again, is not about religion, it's about ignorance.
If I can start this, Laura, I think that
Please.
you have articulated it any better, really. The problems that we're having in the Middle East right now, it has nothing to do with religion. It has something to do with youth on the street, having no opportunities, having even no hope. And you just said it, and I have to second what you said and say that I agree totally with you. We start with education. And because if you have education, then you have more cultured people, more well-informed people who at least have goals for themselves. But even after the education, because we in the Middle East, we know that we have a good education percentage, but then we have to all collectively work into finding solutions for the unemployment that's skyrocketing among youth in the Middle East, and especially it starts with women. You know, I came across a proverb, an African proverb, the other day that says, if we educate a boy, we educate one person. If we educate a girl, we educate a family and a whole nation. When we have strong women, these women will raise these kids who could possibly be successful youth who would build the future of the Middle East, or contribute in the building the future of the whole world, or be ISIL or any of these extreme organization recruits. So I think we all have a role here as women and men and organizations to work collaboratively and try as much as we can to reduce the unemployment, because this is the ticking bomb of not only the Middle East but the whole world. And entrepreneurship is definitely one of those answers, but also thinking together and mentoring and creating these community work to enforce education and opportunities worldwide is another answer that will help reduce the turbulent times we're witnessing in the Middle East and the world as a whole.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think technology in of itself is just such a wonderful facilitation of all ability to collaborate. And I think when you look at an economic story here where, you know, women from different nations, as well as, like you mentioned, Laura, men who can influence policy of countries, I think that by everybody being able to have access to all these different types of platforms we've spoken about, which are apolitical, and they're really ways to, you know, from Katie to educate, and, you know, Laura for mentorship with Rula, and for us even access to capital. It's not about where you come from. It's really about what am I pursuing, what is my future, and here is a safe online platform where we can actually talk about things that hopefully, you know, drive not just economies, but everybody's, you know, personal goals. Obviously, in different regions, that's easier said than done, but it's a great starting place for people to at least start the dialogue online.
Absolutely. And Laura Lombard, with MENACA, you connect businesses, you connect individuals that want to cross barriers. They often say that, I've heard it said that the only thing more powerful than a man with a gun is a girl with a book. I love that, because I think it's in a very simplistic way, it makes a very important point. Will you talk for a moment about the role of mentoring? Because we really haven't talked a lot about that, and I think it's really interesting to know that there is no word in Arabic for mentoring. There's not a direct translation. And so it's actually a relatively new concept in the Arab world, and yet it's so incredibly important. I know myself, even at my age, I've always had mentors. I always will have mentors. I consider Katie Blot is one of my absolute, I adore her. I look at everything she's done in her career. She does things so well. I look up to her as a role model in so many ways. I think she's an incredible role model for so many women that she touches every day all over the world. And I think we all need role models. We all need women who we see as an encouragement, as a light. Could you talk, Laura, about the role of mentors, and how do you see in the Arab world, given the fact that this is a new concept?
Sure. Well, first, let's define what a mentor is in reality, right? It's a teacher. It's someone, more of an informal teacher, most likely, but someone who is going to help you understand something that you don't already understand yourself. So, for instance, I think it's very important that when you're looking at maybe entering a new market, let's say I'm looking at entering Jordan for the first time, which is actually happening. I know something about Jordan, but I still need people to help me, to mentor me in the culture of the country, in the business practices of the country, and having, in particular, another woman who I can relate to maybe a little better, really will help me avoid mistakes, will allow me to maybe not even avoid a mistake, but just enter the market in a more successful manner in the first place. And a mentor can be anyone. I mean, Laura, I consider you a mentor for me, as you're welcome. And you can learn in a lot of different ways from just little tidbits of information. Someone who has more experience than you in a certain area, and it can go both directions. I can be a mentor to you in certain ways too, of life experiences that I've had. So I don't know that it's necessarily a new concept even for the region. It's more maybe that it's putting an existing term, which would be teacher, in a new light, in a more informal, fluid manner.
That makes good sense. And I think we would all agree that in this time of so much crisis around the world, that we have to remember that educated, employed, empowered women are the best drivers of growth, the best hope for reconciliation, and the best buffer against the radicalization of youth. and the repetition of the cycles of violence that we've been seeing. And so with that, I just would really love to thank everyone on the panel for participating today at this crazy hour of the morning, especially Katie. Thank you again for coming in at this crazy hour in Phoenix. Rula, thank you so much for joining, although you arrived from Jordan at 1 a.m. Got up for this morning. I thank you so much for that. And I want to say thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Laura. I think it's been an interesting discussion. And I hope that this will inspire others to discuss and, again, inspire everyone to recognize that they are part of the solution or they are part of the problem. We all need to be intentional in recognizing we have, all of us, a role in advancing women around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.